In this episode, we deal with some extreme conditions as we complete our long 6-day passage from St. Martin to the country of Cuba. Last time on Sailing Balachandra, we left French St. Martin for Cuba. We tore our jib and had to stop and replace it. We got hit with some massive waves, and our traveler broke at the base from an accidental jibe. Hey everyone, if you're new to the channel, I'm Dan and my partner is Nawal, and we are sailing Balachandra. We sailed from Nova Scotia, Canada to the Caribbean. We've been sailing around the Caribbean for well over a year now. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, just go below this video, look for the big red subscribe button and press that button. Yes.
We're still trying to get to Cuba, but weather window has been closing.
Yeah, the last day when we come around Haiti and travel between Haiti and Cuba, it's called the Windward Passage on our charts. It constantly goes through cycles of heavy wind to extremely light wind. And already since we left, it's gone through two. Like today it was blowing like 35 knots. Tomorrow it's manageable, but we won't get there by tomorrow. And the day that we're scheduled to actually arrive there, it's going to be blowing like 35 knots. Going downwind, we should be able to do that as long as the swell doesn't kick up too high, but I don't know much about this passage, so I gotta kind of do the research and make sure that it's safe and that we're not in a cross current or something.
The swell has finally calmed down, finally. It's been non-stop for the past 15 hours or so, and I actually got seasick last night. Not normally when I get seasick, it's just a little bit of like nauseousness, but last night I actually puked. Yeah, it wasn't fun. And then shortly after it started downpouring, so Dan didn't get much sleep during his turn to relax.
It's kind of ironic because about 3 videos ago we made a video called Combating Seasickness, and just click on this link, it'll take you to that video. And you know, you'd think the people who made that video would have seasickness wrapped up.
No, I normally don't get seasick.
I know what happened. It was cold, which is strange for the Caribbean, but it's been cold. We've been getting a lot of wind out of the North Atlantic here lately, and it was a cold night. It was a jacket and sweater night. And Nawal was only up here with a sweater. It was crazy rolly. We had like 15-foot waves, and the autopilot was needing to be tended to constantly, and it just wasn't fun to be on watch that night, and I totally get it.
I'm so glad it's calmed down. This is much smoother sailing today, that's for sure. I managed to go down below and cook us some meals, which was good because we're starting to get low and on healthier options.
We're just above Dominican Republic right now, getting close to Luperon. We've been in Luperon. Luperon was our first landfall in the Dominican Republic, and we did our check-in there. And it was Samana, I think the next town after that, when COVID became like a real thing. So our mainsail traveler remains broken. We're not flying the main at all. But we do have our big 135 jib up, which is giving us 7 knots speed downwind. I can't complain. Honestly, it's pretty good. I mean, yeah, if we flew the main and the jib, we would probably be doing more like 9 knots and it would be amazing, but we just don't have that option right now. But I'm comfortable with 7 knots and we'll get there sure enough, so.
Yeah.
So it's day 5 and we are on our last leg of the trip. Last night we left the Dominican Republic, crossed the border to Haiti, and we're just passing Haiti right now. And we talked about the weather turning for the worst, and we were talking about ducking into an anchorage in Dominican Republic and riding out, some bad weather. I have a friend doing weather routing for us using Predict Wind. We've been using Windy on our phone, using the European model and the GFS model. The European model was saying that we were supposed to get some pretty nasty wind, and it didn't look very good, and we decided we'd duck in. But I checked with my friend doing weather routing, and he confirmed that we're not getting hit with that bad weather, and it's going to be a lot lighter than we thought. So we changed our minds and decided to continue on, and here we are now. And the results are obvious. We're not getting extreme weather as was predicted by the European model, so that's good. So we just have to finish following the coast of Haiti. We'll pass the island Ile de Tortue or Tortuga, and then we'll be into the Windward Passage, which is a piece of water between Haiti and Cuba, and we'll probably be out of cell phone range and everything when we're there because it's pretty remote. And then by morning we should be making landfall in Cuba. We want to do our check-in in Santiago to Cuba, so that'll take probably another half a day to get there. And we have to pass Guantanamo Bay, which is an American military area. There's a 3-mile limit we have to sail around so that we don't alert the military. Yeah, we're doing pretty good so far. I mean, 5 days in and we're not killing each other completely, so that's good. The weather's been much better. The boat's been racing along at almost 7 knots. It's pretty nice 5 days in, not feeling seasick or being tossed around, being able to go down and actually cook a meal for a change. This trip has been not without its issues, with our torn jib that we had to replace in the USVIs, and our whisker pole. It's working great, but the connection point on the mast where the whisker pole attaches took too much pressure with the new jib, and I think it was just underbuilt. It used to rotate not so well, and I think it just jammed and the force just caused it to pancake, so we're gonna have to pick up another one of those. And yeah, we were tacking with the whisker pole, and the whisker pole is new to us. We don't sail with the whisker pole very often, and we completely omitted the fact that the baby stay would be in the way, and the whisker pole came across and snapped the baby stay, so I have to repair the baby stay. Well, it's not that big a deal because we never did use the baby stay. It's always been connected, but it's always been loose. It's never actually been taken on any forces, so I'm not too worried about that. But now we have to repair that, and of course the car on our Traveler, which holds the main sheet, which holds the boom, broke. Some pretty serious hardware connections on our boat, broken all in one passage. It's a new record, I think, for us, but it's all stuff that we can fix, and it's not expensive. It's just kind of a pain in the butt, and especially where we're going to Cuba, and finding any boat parts will be near impossible. Every night of this passage now for 4 days, and now the 5th day, the moon has been slowly getting bigger. The first night we had this little sliver, and then the next night it was a little bigger and a little bigger. And last night it was like a 3/4 moon, so tonight it's going to be almost a full moon, which is amazing because when you're sailing with the moon out and there's no clouds, you can really see everything around you, and you can see squalls approaching, you can see other boats, and lots of other things that are important for navigation. So I'm really happy that we're going to have a full moon, especially where we're crossing the piece of water between Haiti and Cuba, and it's going to be out in the middle of nowhere. We're really lucky to have a full moon tonight. It's not Christmas, Zubair. It's not Christmas. What are you doing? Is he cold?
just after sunset, the wind started to pick up, and so did the swell. It got pretty uncomfortable. He went down below to take a rest between 6:30 and 10. I made the extra effort myself to get sleep during the day so I could cover his shift like happily. Came up all grumpy because he didn't get his sleep in. Shit hit the fan and it wasn't holding anymore. The swell started building up so much so that Dan ended up having the hand steer for like 3 hours straight. We were in about 25-foot swell, Dan's hand steering, and we clocked about 10 knots at one point. So the autopilot started to work again. Dan went back down below. I was back on shift, even though at this point I'm starting to get cranky. We need to tack. We go to tack, and the jib gets caught on the furler like halfway. So it's like half of it's on the opposite side and half is on this side. And so I was like, Dan, go back to port so we could go back on the other tack, try to straighten it out. But nope, we couldn't go back. The wind picked up to like 25 knots, maybe more. That was apparent. And both the jib sheet lines just go straight forward. Even though we had figure 8 knots at the end of them, they just went right through the cars. Lines are in the water, jib's just flogging. I told Dan, point us downwind. Just turn on the motor. Turn on the motor, puts on his life jacket, goes forward, tries to straighten out the lines. At the same time, he's like screaming at me. He's like, slow us down. We don't want the lines to get caught in the prop. So I'm trying to slow us down, but yeah, try to keep us steady in these waves. And I was just like,
yeah, and all this was in like, what, 20-foot waves?
Yeah, the waves were like 20 feet and they were breaking on us.
Insane.
But the cockpit was still dry. Everything was still dry at this point. We were doing pretty good. It wasn't like Cape Hatteras. So finally, Dan feeds it all through. We decided to furl it in and just motor for a bit because both of us are just like cranky as anything at this point. We just figured we'd motor for an hour and a half, get some rest. So we're motoring and Dan goes back downstairs, try to get some sleep again. And I'm sitting all comfortably. Zeus is all cuddled in with me. We had him tethered in that whole time, mind you. As soon as the waves picked up, we tethered him in right away because sometimes he tries to go on these little strolls. Not even 10 minutes into this arrangement, a friggin' wave crashes right on our stern, goes right up above the seat cushions, everything spills right inside and like does this like shh, and then splashed up onto my seat. I was soaked from the waist down. Poor Zeus was just drenched.
It completely filled the cockpit like a swimming pool, right?
It was a swimming pool. It went up to like not quite my knees.
Huge breaking wave.
It was insane. I'm glad it was warm though. It almost went down the gangway. I think we may have lost our iPod. Everything's salty. And it was just rocky like that for some time. We had to get past the most eastern point of Cuba in order to get into better weather conditions. Once we passed the lighthouse, it was much better. And that point took forever to get past. Like, it felt like it just was never ending. I woke up and I thought, finally, you know, we're gonna have a chill day. No coffee, no nothing until like 10, 11. Oh, but that was the best coffee and best breakfast I've had. And it's finally calmed down and I'm enjoying sailing again. So right now we're just sailing on a reefed-in jib because we're still getting those strong gusts, but now that we've passed that easterly point of Cuba, the swell has gone down significantly. We're pretty happy. We're doing our check-in in Santiago de Cuba. We should arrive at our anchorage by midnight. I think we'll just drop the hook and just sleep it out, and once, you know, first daylight when the marina's open, we'll scoot in and tie up. And I think it's fairly inexpensive to spend a day at the marina, so we may do that and just take advantage of the hose and spray off all the salt, because every single cushion and pillow and every surface, I'm so salty. Everything's salty. It's all right though. It's okay. Hopefully they have showers and I'll hose myself down as well. It wasn't quite a full moon, but it was full enough. It lasted all night long. At least we had that on our side. We were able to watch the clouds closely. Really, really grateful for that, because if a squall was to hit us during that passage, I think it just could have been like way worse than what it actually was, you know?
It is day 6 of our passage. This is probably the longest passage so far that we've ever done on this boat. It's pretty amazing. If we could do 6 days to Cuba, we could probably cross the ocean. I don't know.
Which ocean?
any ocean. No, probably the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know. It's very similar to what we would have done had we gone from Nova Scotia to Bermuda originally. But this trip has not been without its issues, seriously. A figure 8 knot is this at the end of your jib sheet, and I always have a figure 8 knot on both jib sheets. Like, we're not used to this big 135 jib, and when we tacked over, the jib hadn't fully gone over, so we decided to tack back and then reload the other winch. We weren't fast enough. The wind pulled the jib sheet right through all of those cars and everything. And
I think it's because our figure 8 knot was loose.
yeah, it was too close to the end. This just slipped right off, and then out goes the sheet flying in the air. And that was very interesting. So, and I've always, like, I know that can happen, and I've always kept a figure 8. So what I've done now is I brought the figure 8 up about 6 inches off the end, so that's less likely to untie. You need this because if it starts to go through all those blocks and pulleys, boom, it'll stop. And then, I mean, trust me, it's a nightmare when the thing goes wild, because you got to furl in the jib, and if you're not fast, you could get tears in your jib from it flogging like crazy, especially in high winds. We had winds 25 knots apparent, probably 30 knots true wind last night.
Thank God it was behind us.
Yeah, it just seems like the longer passage you go, the more things break and the more problems you have. But thank God, knock on wood, everything that's happened is something we can take care of and deal with even in Cuba. So we got through like relatively unscathed compared to some of the problems people have had. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, just go below this video, look for the big red subscribe button, press that button. You can leave a like or a comment, and if you haven't checked out our Patreon page, it's always a good time to do so. Patreon's a place where you can give back if you like what we do and you want to support us. Thanks. See you later.